Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are doing fine. In today's video, we are going to be learning how to sew this beautiful dress right here. This is the fabric that I used for mine. I used about 2.5 yards of lycra fabric. As you can see, it stretches in all direction. You can also use a mesh fabric. And then the first thing we're going to do is to draft the pattern for this dress. I will be needing a pattern paper for that. So my pattern paper is on fold, as you can see. And the first thing I'm going to do is to draw a straight line at the top of the paper. I'll label it as the top line, which is where all my body measurement is going to start from. So from there, I'm going to mark out my bust line. And then 2 inches above my bust line is my chest line, which is 8 inches. And then for the waistline, I'm going to be using my back waistline measurements. So even though I'm drafting the front pattern, I'll still use my back waistline measurements just to avoid bulginess at the back, since this is a dartless pattern. And then I'll mark my hip line measurements, which is 23 inches. And I'll also mark my above knee measurements, which is 36 inches. And then the length of the dress, depending on how long you want it to be. And I'll do the same thing on the other side of the pattern paper. And I'll go ahead and draw a straight line connecting all these points together like this. So go ahead and label this: the chest line, the bust line, the waistline, the hip line, the knee line that is above knee line, and the length of the dress. Then after that, we are going to divide our shoulder by 2, and I'll be marking it on the top line and on the chest line. And then from this point, go down by 1 inch. And then with your straight rule, go ahead and connect it, drawing a straight line like this. Then after that, here I'll mark my neck width of 3 inches and my neck depth of 3 inches. I'm just using this for illustration. We are going to be drafting a different neckline during the course of the video. And then now I'll just go ahead and connect it, drawing the shoulder like this. Then after I'm done, on the chest line, I'm going to divide my bust by 4 and I'll mark it right there. I won't be adding any sewing allowance to this. And then here I'm going to divide this line by 2 and I'll go in by 1/2 inch right here. So I'll first and foremost draw out the armhole for the back, which is from the midpoint all the way to the bust like this. Then now I'm going to divide my waist by 4 and I'll mark it on the waistline. Then go in by 1 inch because we want it to be snatched around our waistline. And then on the hip line, I'm going to divide my hip by 4. You can add extra 1/2 inch to your hip measurements if you want it not to be too fitted around the hip. Then now I'll just go ahead and connect from the chest line to the waistline and then to the hip line. As you can see, it is already well snatched and your figure is already showing on the dress. Then now I'm going to minus 1 inch or 1.5 inches from these measurements on the above knee measurements. I'll just mark it there and I'll connect it to the hip like this. The Y for the length of the dress, sorry it's not showing, but just minus about 1/2 inch again from the measurement here. I'll just minus it and then I'll go ahead and mark it down and I'll connect it to the above knee line. For the neckline for the back, I'm going to go down by 1.5 inches from the top line right here. And with my friend curve, I'm going to connect it like this. While the armhole for the front, I'm just going to connect from this point through the 1/2 inch that we went in by all the way to the chest line. So now just go ahead and cut this out. So I'm cutting for the back first. So that means I'm cutting through the neckline of the back and the armhole of the back. After you're done cutting and you open this up, this is what we have. Just go ahead and connect the line back on the other side. So now I'm going to find the midpoint here, or you can mark 2.5 inches from the armhole area. And then with your friend curve, just go ahead and connect it to the neckline like this and then cut it out. So now I will be placing this pattern on the fabric and I'll cut, and this will be for the back pattern. As you can see, I did not add any sewing allowance to the dress. I only added to the shoulder, to the neckline, and to the length of the dress for hemming. And that's all for the back. So after I'm done with the back, now I'm just going to focus on the front pattern. So for the front pattern, I'm going to go down by 6 inches from this point right there. And I'll draw a straight line connecting it like this. So as you can see, the line is a little bit slanted. And then with my friend curve, I'm going to connect all the way to the other side like this. Then another thing to note is to remove the armhole for the front. And then when you open this up, this is what we have right here. Then here I'm going to go down by 4 inches and I'll draw a straight line like this. and then I will be marking out half an inch from the neckline all the way to the armhole area. And with my front curve, I'm just going to connect it drawing a slanted line like this. So you can do it all the way to about 1.5 inches away from the armhole. Then here I'm going to go down by 3 inches, and then from this 3 inches point I'll go in by 3 inches. And with my front curve, I'm going to connect from the waistline all the way to the 3 inches point like this. And then with my front curve, I'll connect all the way to about 1 inch or half an inch away from the waistline. I'll connect it drawing the curve like this. So after I'm done with this, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to mark these 3 inches points all the way to the down part of the dress. And with my straight line, I'm going to connect all the way down like this. So after I'm done with this, from the hip line, I'm going to mark a breaking point of 3 inches. This is where we are going to divide one side from the other. So go up by 3 inches on the other side as well. You're going to understand why we are doing this later on. So now go ahead and connect to this point and then connect to the other side as well. Also make sure you label it drawing an arrowhead to indicate that that is a breaking point. Okay, we are going to be slashing through that point. Then from this point, I'll go down by 6 inches on the left side and also on the right side. And with my straight rule, I'll connect all the way to the other side, and I'll also connect all the way to the side like this. So you can go ahead and label this A, B, C, and D. Then after we are done with this, I'm just dividing it into 4 parts, and then here I will divide it into 4 parts as well. Then with my straight rule, I'm just going to connect like this. So it does not necessarily have to be equal, but just try as much as possible that they are close to each other. On this other point again, I'm also going to divide it into 4 equal parts, and with my straight rule, I'm going to connect it. And then after we are done with this, I'll just go ahead and cut out through the waistline. I'll keep the upper part aside. Now we'll work on the down part, and the first thing to do is to slash through this point like this. After you're done slashing, just keep this smaller part, and we are going to be working with the bigger part. So the first thing we're going to do is from the midpoint right there, I'm going to be marking out 3 inches, and with my straight rule, I'm going to connect it all the way to that sharp point like this. We're going to be doing a slash and spread on this part. That's the reason why we did it like this. So now we are going to slash. So to slash, we're going to slash through that arrow point, which is the breaking point, like this. And pay attention to the way I turned it to the other side, right? I just turned it upside down to the other side, and I'm going to be taping this down half an inch away from the other pattern paper that I just introduced. So I'm going to repeat the process, but make sure that you label the waistline. This is the waistline of the dress. So from the waistline, you turn it to the other side. The waistline is going to be downward, and now just go ahead and slash through the other parts. So make sure you are slashing it to the end of the side seam, not all the way through. Then after you're done slashing, you're going to be spreading it. Like I said, make sure it is about half an inch away from the new pattern paper that we just introduced. And then now I'm just going to be spreading the other ones. Make sure you open it like this and spread. You can tape it down, and I spread 2.5 inches away from each other, and then just go ahead and tape it down. So at this point, you can confirm it. It does not necessarily have to be equal on all sides. Just make sure that they are closely the same. Then now the next thing to do is to cut the smaller part of it. So we are going to be slashing it all the way to the side seam, but not through the side seam. Then we'll do the same thing all the way down. So now we're going to be spreading this. The first point there, we're going to make sure it is half an inch aligning to the other point. Then after we are done aligning it half an inch, we can now go ahead and tape the remaining ones. So when you are taping, you are making sure that it aligns to the down part, okay? So at least you'll be able to get that straight curve like this. Then now just go ahead and cut this out. So when you're cutting, we did not add any allowance to any parts apart from the upper part of the dress. So just go ahead and cut out the allowance, and this is what we have. So after we're done with this, when you turn it this other way, this is what it looks like. Remember I said we should go in by 3 inches from the hemline, and then connect it, slanting it like this. So just go ahead and slant it open like this. And then now you're going to be spreading it on the fabric, making sure that it is open like this. So you spread it all the way to the other side. Is to start working on the other side. So to do that, I'm going to slash through that breaking points that we did the arrow, and after we are done, we are going to turn this upside down like you see me do right here. Also, I make sure that I use 1/2 inch sewing allowance at the upper part. So just go ahead and cut it out like this. So make sure you're not cutting all the way to the end. If you cut all the way to the end, you can just tape it down and make sure that it is not folded at that point. So now we are going to start spreading it. We're going to spread the first one aligning to the first side, and then you open it to 2.5 inches wide, depending on how full you want the gathers to be. And then now you're just going to tape it down. So after taping it down, make sure that the end points aligns to this other side like this. And then you can now go ahead and measure from the upside down. I got about 11 inches length, which is okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out right now. So after cutting, this is what the other side looks like. So we're going to do the same thing we did for the bigger part by just creating this slanted line right there where we'll be doing a slash and spread. So just go ahead and slash this open. And when you're cutting on the fabric, you're going to spread it so that you have excess fabric at that point. That fabric is going to form that fold that we have in front of the dress. So after we are done with this, for the front part, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the neckline like this. And this is the asymmetric neckline we have for the front. So another thing to do is to slash open these 1/2 inch points that we marked earlier. And then on the fabric, I'm going to slash through these points all the way to the end, but not through. Then now I'll just start spreading it. So I'll open up the first line and pin it down, and then I'll spread it all the way to the other side. You can use 1 inch away from each other or 0.5 inch away from each other. And after you're done, you're going to cut this out. I added 1/2 inch sewing allowance to the armhole area and the shoulder, and as well as the neckline and the hemline as well. Please don't add any allowance to the side seam. Then at this point, you can then go ahead and gather this so that you can form that asymmetric shape that we had before. So you can notch the points where the gathers is going to start from and where it's going to end, and then you run the gather stitch and gather it. So at this point, I've run the gather stitch and I'm going to gather it, and this is what we have right here. I've also cut the down part of the dress, and this is what we have. I did not add any allowance to the side seam, but I added allowance to the waistline area. And then see the spreading that I said we should do. That's what it should look like. So one thing to do is to make sure you notch these points. It's very important. Also notch the hip line as well as the waistline, where the waistline stops, so that it will be like a guide when you are joining it to the other side of the fabric. But very important, make sure you notch the midpoint, okay? So after we are done, just remove the pattern paper from the fabric, and now the part that I said we should notch, which is a midpoint right here, just go ahead and face right side together like this, right? And then we are going to be sewing from about 1 inch away from it. You sew all the way to the end. That's the reason why I said we should notch it. Then for the smaller parts, this is what we have. I added 1/2 inch to the waistline area, but I did not add any sewing allowance to the other parts apart from the hemline that I added sewing allowance. I also spread it on this other side as well. So the same way you spread the bigger parts, if you want to spread it by 3 inches or 4 inches, depending on how full you want that part to be, it's the same thing you're going to do for the smaller part as well. And then also notch the waistline where the waist stops, and also the midpoint. On the upper bodice here, you're going to close the neckline with a bias strip, and you're going to do the same thing for the back as well. Close it with a bias strip and gather the shoulder. At this point, I'm done sewing the bigger parts. That is, I joined that midpoints together, and by the time you turn it to the right side, this is what it looks like, right? This is the opening that we left, that 1 inch opening right there. When you fold it, this is what it looks like. So the upper part is the waist, this is the side seam, and then that's the opening there. So now we are going to be joining the smaller part to it, and to do this, when we remove the pattern paper from this, remember I said we should notch that midpoint. So pass the smaller part through it like this, and then from that midpoint that we notch, you're going to sew all the way to the other side. And then when you close it, you're going to turn it to the right side, facing the waistline upward. I'm going to repeat this process so that you understand better. So this is the waistline here, and this is the midpoint. So you're going to pass this through the hole that we created. Then you join this together and sew, closing it like this. After you sew, you now turn it to the right side, and then the waistline will be at the top. So if there's an opening there, just make sure you close it as much as possible so that it will not be showing in front. Then now you're going to be joining the bigger parts to the smaller parts at this midpoint that we slashed opened. So you're going to sew all the way down using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. If you want a slit, you can just sew from about 10 inches away from the length and sew all the way to the breaking point right there. The next thing to do now, we are going to be joining the upper part of the dress to the down part. And to be able to do this, I'm going to be joining it exactly how it's supposed to be. I'll face right side together and I'll sew from this side through the midpoint all the way to the other side using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So after I was done sewing, this is what it looks like. Mind you, this is an advanced sewing, so it might be a little bit tricky for a beginner, but just take your time and make sure you join it using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So after I'm done joining, I will be joining the back as well at the shoulder and also at the side seam. And then I'll go ahead to add my basic sleeve to this. The basic sleeve is also going to be fitted without sewing allowance so that it's going to be tight around our hand. And that's basically all for today's video. If you are done with this and you wear it, or the person that you're sewing this for wears it, you can use your hand needle to adjust the gathers. Maybe if you want it to be at a particular position, you can use your hand needle to keep it in place so that it doesn't move. And that's basically all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. Please do well to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in my next one.